Curell Case Files presents When Love Goes Wrong, Episode 1, The Fatal Affair. In the quiet suburbs of Houston, Texas, Rachel and Tom Whitaker seem to live the kind of life most people envy. A two-story house, 2 children, and 12 years of marriage. But appearances often hide the truth. And behind their carefully painted smiles, something was breaking. Rachel felt invisible. Days blurred into nights of cooking, cleaning, and waiting for a husband who had become more of a roommate than a partner. Tom, a financial analyst, prided himself on providing, but rarely noticed his wife's growing silence. They weren't fighting, but they weren't connecting either, and sometimes silence is more dangerous than words. Then came Brandon Hayes. He was younger, energetic, and full of compliments. A new hire at Rachel's marketing firm. At first, it was harmless, shared lunches, casual jokes. But slowly, Brandon became the voice Rachel heard in her head, the smile she waited for each morning. He saw her in ways Tom hadn't in years. The texts grew flirtatious. Lunches turned into dinners, dinners turned into hotel rooms. And soon, Rachel found herself living a double life. Brandon wasn't just a fling. He called Rachel his muse. He said he'd never met someone like her. But Rachel never planned to leave Tom. For her, Brandon was an escape. For Brandon, it was everything. Tom noticed the change, the late-night phone checks, the sudden errands, the distance in her eyes. One night, unable to sleep, he checked the GPS history on Rachel's phone. It led him to a motel parking lot just 15 minutes from their home. There he saw it, her car, and next to it, another. He waited, heart pounding, jaw clenched. Moments later, Rachel appeared, laughing. Then Brandon, just a step behind. And that's when Tom stepped out of the shadows. The confrontation was instant. Words exploded. Rachel tried to speak, but both men were already shouting. Brandon moved between them. Then, in a split second, he opened the glove box of his car and pulled out a revolver. One shot rang out. Tom fell to the ground. In a single moment, a marriage ended, a life was lost, and a secret affair turned into a public tragedy. Brandon told the police it was self-defense, that Tom lunged at him, that he feared for his life. But the evidence said otherwise. The bullet's trajectory didn't match his story. Witnesses claimed Tom was unarmed, calm, even. The courtroom was packed during the trial. Rachel testified through tears, caught between the memory of her husband and the guilt of her betrayal. She said she never imagined things would end this way. Brandon Hayes was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison. Rachel moved away. The children were raised by Tom's parents. The house was sold, and the neighborhood whispered for years. Love, when twisted by ego and obsession, becomes something else entirely. Brandon didn't just want Rachel, he believed he deserved her. And when reality didn't match the fantasy, he tried to force it with a bullet. Psychologists call this emotional entitlement, a belief that affection is owed, that rejection is injustice. In Brandon's mind, he wasn't committing murder, he was claiming what was his, but no one belongs to anyone. Rachel lives with regret. Brandon sits behind bars. And Tom became a name etched into stone far too soon. One triangle, one lie, one fatal decision. This was the fatal affair. Episode 1 of When Love Goes Wrong, brought to you by Curell Case Files. Subscribe for more true stories of love, lies, and the crimes they leave behind. Because some of the deadliest crimes are committed in the name of love.